Hello, everyone. It has been 5 years since I have done these recordings with fellow friends and nerds where I just get people on a call with me to talk about software, what they're up to, what they're working on, what their open source projects are. And well, a pandemic happened in between, and I thought, why not pick it up again and invite some people to talk about what they're up to these days. And today, I have a good friend of mine here with me, and that is Kilian. And Kilian joined me on his birthday to talk about his side project, living, day job. Kilian, do you quickly want to introduce yourself, and then let's see where this conversation brings us?
Yeah, sure. I'm Kilian. I am, as of today, 37 years old. I'm from the Netherlands. Thank you. I'm from the Netherlands, so I have a similar but slightly different accent from Stefan. I built Polypane, which is my day job and has been my day job for the last 6 years now. Though it has been a side project for a decade by now. Which makes me feel
not know this.
Much older than 37, to be honest. But yeah, so I've been working on this for a very long time, and it's what I work on every day, all day.
Now I'm curious. So you had Polypane as a side project for such a long time, just like an Electron project sitting on GitHub, and then how did that? When did you make the switch to actually say, okay, now that works, and I'm now an indie hacker?
So essentially I was always building tools, desktop apps, etc. to make my life as a web developer easier. Mm-hmm. And Polypane was just one of them. That was, when I started it was the coolest, because that's always how you start side projects, right?
Of course.
The latest is the greatest.
It's fun to set up things, to make progress fast. It's always, that's how it is.
And it was my first project using Electron, setting that up. I had used something called Node WebKit before, which was like conceptually similar, but much clunkier.
Yep.
So Electron was really fun to work with. And I had this app that helped me with my day job, building websites. And then, the switch didn't really have a lot to do with Polypane. Like I knew Polypane was something that I would eventually want to sell as a product or market as a product. But at that point I was running a web agency. And then at some point I was just done making websites for other people. You can only do that.
I can somehow relate.
Yeah. Yes, you can only do that so often. And by that time, I had built like 200 websites over the course of 14 years. So there wasn't really a lot for me to grow in that area.
Yeah.
So I decided to make the switch, leave the agency. And start working full time on a product, because that's what I had always wanted to do, really. And gave myself a year to try it out.
That would have been my next question. So you had a little bit of buffer, and so okay, I figure this out now, or I look for an alternative.
Yeah. So I had an internet agency. I sold my shares in that, and then I had a buffer, and I essentially together with my partner, we decided, let's give it a year, see if it works. If it doesn't, I'll go get a regular job somewhere. But it worked, and here we are 6 years later.
Nice. That is a good story. I mean, every indie hacker or side project hustler is kind of dreaming of making it full income, right? Of course, not everything is golden and shiny, because I guess you have completely different problems than being employed somewhere.
Absolutely.
I could think of customers are interesting, I guess. But yeah, I'm using Polypane and we see it here on screen already, for a year, maybe 1.5 or 2 years. So I definitely am on board there. But I don't know how often you release, every couple of weeks or something. Every time I read your release notes, I feel like, man, I'm not using this tool enough, because what I'm actually using it for is checking responsive design and kind of viewport testing. But I feel like there's way more included in the tool these days.
Yeah.
So I thought that we could take now, I don't know, 20 minutes or something, and you could give me a brief rundown to show the people, okay, what is Polypane? So to tell me and whoever is watching this later on, what it is, how to handle it. But then I'm very interested in the features that I'm definitely should be using, but I'm not, because I'm not even aware that they're in here.
Sure. Yeah.
So here we have Polypane. What are we looking at?
Yeah. So Polypane is really a tool to help you build the best websites you can. And initially that was focused on responsive design, because the initial version of Polypane was just me thinking it's super annoying to resize my browser all the time, and then I open DevTools and then the entire page resizes and I need to drag that out again to get back to the original size. It's super annoying. What if I didn't have to do that? So that's like the core of Polypane. Like, what if you didn't have to resize your browser the whole time during development? Because that's super annoying and it's not good use of my time. I want to make good use of my time. But of course, it's not just the dimensions of a web page that you design for. You also design for all sorts of media variations, like a light mode and a dark mode, maybe reduced motion. Maybe you have special accessibility concerns where you need to make sure that you have perverse contrast support or forced color support. Maybe you need to test on devices with a very slow network speed, or things like that, where there's something about the device that you need to test for. So that all became part of Polypane, where the idea is, what if you see your website in all the different ways that people experience your website, but then all in one overview. So if you make a change, you immediately see the effect for all your users. In all the permutations of your website that you care about.
Okay, walk me through that. So what I usually do is I have here now the mobile phone, small tablet, and laptop, right? And this is already cool. We could now, for example, go to the preview of my newsletter, right? So I'm working on a redesign, way too long, but it needs to get out. But so this is what I usually do, right? I just have 3 viewports, and then there's the scrolling kind of anchored. And then what I usually do is I kind of do this, right? So that I have a better overview to see really what's happening. But you're basically now telling me that I should have a wall of different windows with different media capabilities, viewports, settings?
It depends on where you are in the process. So the default view in Polypane will show you the 3 panes that you have here: mobile phone, small tablets, and laptop. The reason that's the default is because that's what I use. It's as simple as that.
Selfishly. Okay.
But that gives a good enough spread for when you're developing. But then, depending on where you are in the process, you might want to add more or switch things out. So what you can do in Polypane is you can have different workspaces set under different shortcuts. And we can go over that.
How do I do that?
Oh yeah, sure. So the easiest thing to do is press Command K.
Command palette?
Yep.
Love it.
And then,
I did not know you had that.
Tip number 1. And then you type Workspaces.
Right.
Yeah, and then press Enter. So that opens the side panel, which there's also a button in the address bar right next to the sizing toggle.
Yeah, this one.
Yeah, so that just opens and closes the panel, but the panel contains all sorts of like meta stuff. So stuff about your website, but also configuration. And in terms of workspaces, we give you a bunch of workspaces as a default to test around in. But you can then also switch over to the custom workspaces.
Yeah.
And then essentially you can configure your set of panes the way you want. And then save that to any of the workspaces. And then using commands 1 through 9, you can switch to that workspace.
Oh, wow.
So usually I have in workspace 1, I have that default set of mobile, small, and laptop. And then in 2, I might have a bunch of different small devices. And then in 3, I might have like my accessibility overview, where there's like a light mode and a dark mode and a forced color mode and reduce motion or something like that.
Yeah.
And then I can very quickly, as I'm working, go from like command 1 to command 2 to command 3, verify that what I'm looking at is what I expect to be looking at, and then carry on. So the idea of these panes is that they are not meant to be like completely static. Like even what you've been doing now, like quickly resizing different panes, the idea isn't that you put like an iPhone device here and like a Galaxy 24 Plus and never change that. The idea is that you have a pane that's roughly the size of an iPhone, but then you can jiggle it around to make sure that, you know, it also works if it's slightly larger. Because there are no fixed breakpoints on the web. For everyone using like the specific iPhone 16 Pro Max width, there are 12 people using like 2 pixels more, and there are 100 people using 20 pixels more, but they're on their iPad and they have the sidebar view, which is slightly larger. All these things make it so that it's nice designing for specific devices. But in the real world, you also need to make sure that it just works fluidly rather than at specific device sizes. So it's all catered towards making that process as smooth as possible, with the resizing, with switching workspaces, and just making that as easy as possible.
Yeah, I mean, that makes a lot of sense, right? So usually having this kind of a little bit of it as a guidance always helps for the quick view, right? So I totally see myself doing this. Is there a way that I can kind of have them like flowing over so that they're not all next to each other?
Yeah, so there's a bunch of layouts, but another shortcut that you can do is Command-Shift-0.
Command-Shift-0.
And that will zoom it out so that it fits essentially. But we have a bunch of different layouts. So the default is horizontal, which you can get to with the shortcut H. But you can also switch to vertical with the shortcut V.
Okay, I see.
And then they all flow down the page. And there's 3 more layouts. So there's a focus layout, which shows one.
Is that F?
Yeah, that's F. That shows one device at a time. And as you can see at the top bar, you have all the devices that you have in horizontal mode. And you can actually switch between those with the arrows now.
Ooh.
So if you want to focus on a single device, but you quickly want to toggle through them, you can do that. And then on the left, you can also see the breakpoints button there. And now you can cycle through all the CSS media query breakpoints that you have defined in your own CSS. So these are the sizes that you are designing for. And that you can then now easily access.
That is very cool.
So there's 2 other layouts which are less designy. So there's a browser layout, B, which is it's just a regular tab. Because you know, if you're working on accessibility, if you're working on something like site structure, which I'm sure we'll get to, then you don't actually need a bunch of different panes, and this works just as well, and it's nice and big. And then the other one is the split view, which you can get to with S, which is a split view, and I added that fairly recently because it's the hip thing to do, but also split view is kind of nice because there's a lot of times where you don't really care about specific in-between sizes, but you're like generally designing to make sure that it fits well on small and it fits well on large.
Yeah.
And then what people also use split view for is there's a bunch of ways where you can configure Polypane to show two different things. And with things, I mean, for example, URLs. So you can have two URLs side by side and compare them. Or
on split view?
Yeah.
Because I want to do that.
You can
because I'm very often preparing like a prod side and a pre-prod or a staging side just to see changes. How do I do that?
So you can set that per pane. So above each pane here, you see a row of icons, and the second from the right is devices. So that's where you change device-specific settings. And if you can then go to the network tab, then the bottom there's a sync navigation, so you can turn that off. And then it adds a new URL bar for this pane specifically.
I see.
And then the other pane continues following the address bar at the top. And then this pane has its own URL. Now it will still try to sync all the other clicks, etc. So you can also turn that off if you want, but usually it's what you prefer. So if you have like development and production side by side, you kind of want it to follow the URL structure. It's just the base domain that's different. So that will automatically work. And then the other way people use that feature is by having different sessions. So each pane can have its own session. So if you're working on something that has multiple different levels of users, you can have one pane be logged in as like a regular user and the other pane logged in as an admin user. And then you can verify that they both see what they should be able to see without having to do the entire like login, check, log out, get the new password, log in, check, and log out, and check in or log in with the previous one again. Because again, like that's annoying, that's stupid work. And like my goal with Polypane is to eliminate as much stupid work as possible, so that you can do what you're good at, which is build quality websites.
Yeah. So you're saying every pane here in Polypane is basically its own local storage. It's all a separated container, right? That is what you're saying.
If you do separate sessions, yes. But if they're all in the same session, they do share local storage and cookies and login states, etc.
Gotcha. So this, when I go sync navigation, is the same session? No. Or is that the same session?
They're orthogonal, so you can have two different URLs in the same session, and then you can set a specific session per pane or per tab. And then that pane or that tab will have a separate session from the rest of Polypane.
Okay, I see. Yeah, I think this is already very, very handy, right? So for the case of having two different base URLs, I do that all the time, right? Sometimes you're just like, did I break this or was it like this?
Yeah.
It happens all the time.
So another like small thing I added for that recently is if you right click the tab, you can do customize tab. And then you can give it a tab color and then check apply to all tabs with this domain. And then now you know that every time your address bar is yellow, you're on your staging environment.
This is such a classic, right? Debugging something, and then after 30 minutes, it's just like,
why is it not updating? I deleted all the caches everywhere. Yeah.
I had that last week. The last time was, oh, wow. Yeah, totally.
Yeah, and now you can just like decide for yourself, like blue is production, yellow is staging, red is development. And you never run into that issue again.
That is very, very handy. Okay, let me just turn off here the syncing. So that should now flip. Yeah. All right. This is very handy. But generally, how would people kind of develop with Polypane? So we now have here kind of the different panes, right, and different viewports.
Yeah.
But what would happen usually in, I don't know, Chrome, Firefox, DevTools, right? I have the DOM and all that stuff there. I'm sure there are 1,000 different tricks that you have there too.
Yeah. Yeah. So if we can switch back to the horizontal mode. And then maybe go back to like the 3 layout. So if you go in Workspaces to default, and then the default 3 panes, and then we can do, so usually what you want to do at this point is inspect some stuff, right?
Yeah.
So usually what you would do is you would right click and then do inspect.
Yeah. I'm the Command Control C guy. Does it work?
Yeah, that works as well.
Okay, cool.
But that's 3 buttons that you need to press on your keyboard. In Polypane, you can just hold Option and hover over stuff.
Okay, I see what you're doing here.
And that's like every design tool ever. So Photoshop does that, Sketch does that, Figma does that, Illustrator does that, and Polypane does that as well.
Yeah.
And what you can see is as you hold Option, the tooltip appears in all panes. So that makes it really nice to quickly contrast and compare as well. Like how big is my heading font? Because I assume you have like some clamp function for that here, by the looks of it. So what you want to know is, am I getting the values that I want across my different sizes? Like it looks good visually, but maybe on small tablets it's 42.75 or 75 pixels. Like maybe I want to tweak that a little, and now you know without having to resize measure. So that makes it a lot more convenient just to like verify and check things. Yeah.
Also, just a single key is easy to adopt in muscle memory, right? If you have a custom shortcode, it's like, okay, what did I have to press? If it's just all, it already feels natural to me just hovering around without kind of doing the dance that you have to do with your hands. Yeah. So I think this is the good pro tip. So what do you have on the right side here?
Yeah, so on the right side, there is the Polypane Elements panel, which looks different from the Chrome Elements panel because it's a completely new design. And the reason it's a completely new design is because I built it to solve the problems that you most commonly have, or the things you most commonly want to figure out in an Elements panel.
Yeah.
So the Chrome DevTools, of course, they are like 20 years old by now. They have thousands of people have worked on them. So this is not feature for feature comparable, but it's like the 90% that you care about is here, plus an additional 90% that isn't in the Chromium DevTools. And the main reason I built this is because this can inspect and edit styles across all your panes at the same time. So you get that instant feedback across all sizes. So if something breaks or if something just looks bad, you get instant feedback.
That didn't work, well, but that's my fault, probably.
Probably it's, so you set a width on something in a flex layout, and the flex layout probably has takes precedence there. So you still need to, it's still just CSS. Just happens at all the different sizes at the same time.
All right, this makes a lot of sense, right? So you had to rebuild this thing here to kind of control and kind of show the DOM, and totally building that from scratch also makes sense, right? So you mentioned that DevTools have a lot of legacy, right? And fresh eyes, a fresh approach is very often a good thing when you start these kind of things. But now I'm curious, how do you build this? How do you get the DOM in, the DOM out? How's the synchronization working? I could see there's a lot of hidden complexity.
Yeah, so the way it works is that an Elements panel essentially has two parts. There's the input, like what is my current DOM structure, what is my current state, what are the current styles. And then there's the output part, which is you make changes in the Elements panel and those then get applied to your DOM structure.
Yeah.
So in Chromium DevTools, that's very simple. One tab has one
DOM.
DevTools.
Yeah.
So those are essentially the same thing. But in Polypane, I had to split that up. So there's always one pane that is the driver of your Elements panel, and it's the one you simply inspected last. So whatever you inspected is the one that is the current driver. And like for 99% of the pages, you don't even notice that things are different if you inspect in a different pane, because they have the same DOM structure there. It's just a different size. There's just like some different CSS.
Do you switch the driver when I now click around? So now the driver is the first one, and is that puzzle? Is that showing? No, that is extension something. Okay.
Yeah.
But that makes sense.
So that's it automatically updates the tree view and the styling and essentially the entire Elements panel. And then whenever you make changes, we apply those to all panes. So you have an H1 on your page. That H1 exists on all panes. So if you make a change to that H1, for example, so that's one of the things I fixed in Polypane. So if you make a change to that H1, it changes in all of them. So one thing I really dislike about the Chrome Elements panel is that you need to double click into the tree view and then a strange modal opens and then you make your changes there. But then if you need to click out of it to do something else, now all your changes are gone. So modals are annoying.
Yeah.
So in Polypane, you can just simply edit all of those at the bottom. So you can see the content of the H1 like right above your mouse cursor, like more than just a regular front-end newsletter. Usually when you're like testing stuff out, the thing you quickly want to check with content is if I add 3 more lines, does it still work or does my layout break?
Yeah.
So there is no faster way to do that than this, because it's literally just, well, there is one faster way, but we can get to that if we have time later. And then for all your attributes, so there's an overview of your attributes.
Yeah.
With classes, all your properties, and then this entire thing is smart. So it knows that this is a paragraph. A paragraph can have specific attributes, but not other attributes. So as you type stuff, we'll only auto-suggest things that are accepted by a paragraph tag.
What is not accepted by a paragraph tag?
For example, href. Href only works on links.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Or alt, which only works on attributes or on images.
That's a nice little detail, right? To not mess it up on the way. Totally see that. Yeah.
And of course, because it's HTML and because it's the web, you can still add an alt attribute to a P, and then that'll happily live in your DOM doing nothing. But at least, we didn't auto-suggest it for you.
Yeah, that is kind of cool. Okay, so let me just poke around a little bit. So we have here, this looks very familiar. Computed also looks, you built this all from the ground up?
Yeah.
Inspecting, how do you get you just have some JavaScript injected in the pages and you, that gets messy quickly, doesn't it?
Not really. So it's part parsing all your CSS, it's part parsing the live DOM, it's part checking like Chrome DevTools protocols, which you're probably familiar with from Playwright work. So those provide a whole lot of information like outside of the web page itself. So it's a combination of all of those things to feed into this Elements panel. But it's definitely a lot of work to make sure that it feels as instant as the Chrome DevTools.
For sure.
Because there's like on every inspection, on every change, I need to parse the entire DOM and rebuild that entire tree view. So it's it's a lot of work. But then I get to add new stuff. So if you switch over to that debug tab, then this tab is essentially an overview of all the things that cause problems. So, you know, the font looks bad. What's the rendered font? Well, if you want to look for that in the Chrome DevTools or the Firefox DevTools or the Safari DevTools, you need to dig pretty deep to find the actual rendered font.
Yeah.
Why not just display it? And by the way, we also display it if you hold Alt.
That's what I've guessed. Yeah. Okay.
So that immediately shows like the font size, the line height, like all the stuff you very often want to quickly check. And what you don't want to do is like inspect that element, then go to the styles tab and then scroll down until you find the font size declaration, and that is some var. So you scroll down to that var, and then that references another var. So you need way too much work.
For sure.
Why not just show it immediately? And then stuff like offset parents and stacking context, which determine for quite a large part how your layout works. And so they are often also the cause of problems. So having an offset parent that isn't what you expect it to be is why your absolutely positioned elements aren't in the place you expect them to be. And just making that really easily parsable, apologies, makes it much quicker to debug layout issues, because now you can instantly see, oh, I didn't mean to use this element as an offset. I forgot to add positioning to this other element.
For sure. All right, let me poke around a little bit more. So we have attributes, data, then we have accessibility, triple A. Okay. Is there more? This feels like a little bit you're doing some accessibility checks here. How can I use Polypane for quality control? Right, we all kind of know Lighthouse, and then it's easy to just run. Okay, check. Give me all the stuff that I need to fix. Does Polypane has stuff like that too?
Yeah, it has. So what I try to do is have accessibility checks permeate throughout the application. So each element has accessibility information associated with it. If it's a form that doesn't have a name, then it's a generic element. So the role's generic and we don't show that much. But if it's an input or an H1, then you get stuff where it has an accessible name. And if that accessible name is missing, we show an error. We know that it's focusable. We know that it's settable. Those are things that come from the accessibility tree. So this is for like a quick check of an element, but usually you want to get an overview of like the entire page. So for that, we have dozens of accessibility tools, but I'll focus on like some overview features first. So in the panel, which we are in now, if you go to the Info tab.
Where do I have to go?
So where you have the panel on the side with the elements view, and then there's the So in the Info tab, we have meta info, outline info, storage info, accessibility info, and source. So source is just the view source, but then it also has HTML validation, which can be used for accessibility.
Oh boy, this redesign is work in progress. I'm not now showing a lot of. Okay. So sources, you're validating the HTML. All right. So let's head to the accessibility stuff. Okay.
So here you can run like an automated accessibility check. It's the same accessibility check as is in Google Lighthouse or Google PageSpeed. So it will show you like surface area issues.
I mean, this is X, isn't it? Or what library is used?
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, you can see here that there's a best practice, which all page content should be contained by landmarks. It's one of those that isn't strictly an accessibility issue. So at the top, there's a checkbox to hide best practice things, because I tend to not fully agree with them. Like they don't impede accessibility. It's just someone decided that it's neater if everything is in landmarks, because if you then navigate by landmarks, you can get to everything by landmarks. But you can also get to everything through headers or through links or, focusable elements. So the accessibility panel is really more of a gut check, but for a whole bunch of accessibility stuff, it's really up to you to decide whether things make sense. And that's what the outline panel is for. So if you switch to outline, so the outline will show you the outline of your web page in a bunch of different ways. So that's headings, landmarks, links, images, focus order, the accessibility tree, and forms. So forms is really new. I released that 2 weeks ago. And the other ones have been in there for quite a while. So if you go like top to bottom, I think that's the easiest way to go about it. So the heading outline is arguably the most important part of your page, because that's important for people navigating your site, both with assistive technology and just visually. But it's also how search engines determine what your page is about.
Yeah.
What you can see here is that we do have some suggestions, but we don't have any like really big warnings for you.
Yeah.
So you're not skipping headings. You don't have multiple H1s. You don't try to add like H7s, which exist if you use ARIA, but you shouldn't be using them. We do flag some repeated text. So that's a thing where what tends to happen a lot is that people try to do the right thing. So the canonical example is you have a navigation, and in the navigation you have a link to home. So it has the word home, but the designer also added like a nice little house icon. So you add the nice little house icon, but now there's an image without an alt attribute, and all images need an alt attribute. So you add the alt home to the icon home next to the word home.
Yeah.
And that looks great. And that means that accessibility checkers won't complain that there's an empty alt.
Yeah.
But screen readers now say home instead of just home.
Yeah.
So you want to be able to know that duplication is there. So I built this algorithm that compares the duplication inside a given string, inside an accessible name. And then if there are specific repeated strings, so in this case, you have new browser features as a byline, but it's part of the H2. So that means that you have new browser features, learn about new browser features, and that's what gets read out as the accessible name, which it's an annoying sentence to listen to.
This is great. I love this. Yeah, that makes sense.
So if you just look at that, you think, well, the title is learn about new browser features. That's fine. But now you have this additional insight where you can make choices depending on that, where you can do things like, okay, maybe that byline is purely visual, so I'll add an area hidden to it. Or actually that byline shouldn't be part of the H2, so I'm going to take it out of the H2, which is probably what I would do. But now you can start to make these choices because you have the additional insight into what your structure is actually communicated as.
Yeah. All right. So this makes a lot of sense. Like this is heading structure. Landmarks is no main. Holy moly.
Yeah. So you can add some landmarks to your page, like header and footer and nav and main, to make them make it easier for people to go through the site by landmark.
Okay.
And then links.
You check where they're going though, which is nice to discover 4 fours or something.
Yeah. So we automatically check for broken links. Unless you have more than 50 links on the page, then it's like a manual action because I don't want to DDoS your website.
Thank you.
But yeah, that will quickly tell you like are links broken, and then there's a whole bunch of more accessibility stuff here with like titles, area currents, visual content, where the link goes versus the link text, and how those compare. If you have links that say read more, then that will be flagged as well because read more isn't descriptive, things like that.
Or
so
click
essentially
or
everything,
these kind of
click
things.
here, all those things get automatically flagged.
Okay, that is cool. Then we have images. That is, I guess, empty is... Oh, more red stuff. All right.
Yeah, so these are 404s. We check if there's an alt attribute. So if there's an alt attribute but it's empty, that's fine because that's how you make something decorative image. But if it's missing, we give a warning. And then if you scroll down a little bit to all the 404s, you can see that we also have some additional warnings for the contents of your alt attribute. So if you have an alt attribute that starts with things like screenshot of, image of, picture of, that doesn't help because screen readers already announced that something is an image. So they don't need to additionally be announced as like a screenshot or an image or something of that nature.
That is interesting though, because these are screenshots of the actual UI. So would I then just do hosting checker UI?
Yeah, because it's if you have your face as an image, you probably would say as an alt attribute your name and not photo of your name.
All right. Convinced. Then we have forms. This form is still a work in progress.
Yeah, so forms will show you, usually when I was building this, there would always be like some issue where there was a label that wasn't associated in the way I thought it was, or I had a typo in my autocomplete. So if you open the details for that input element, all the way to the right, then you can see there's a placeholder, but if there's an autocomplete, then we check that value for all the valid values and give you a warning if it doesn't match. So it just, if there's a reset button, we warn you about that because that's usually not what you want.
And for the people watching, I will add a proper label. This is work in progress. I'm pretty much aware that placeholder isn't a good label. All right.
So that is actually not something that I flag because for the accessibility tree, this is fine.
Yeah, because of the accessible name computation steps, right?
Yeah. So if there's a placeholder and not anything that is more relevant, it will use the placeholder. So that's mostly fine. Of course, it would always be better to have a separate label element that says email address that's always visible for the form.
Yeah, that makes sense. So we're focus order, just tabbing around?
Yeah, so that's how people tab through your webpage. The list isn't super interesting, though it will flag things that are illogical. But if you press show overlay,
I love that.
Now you get like a direct visual overview, and you can see that 4 is highlighted there on the page, and that's because this page currently has step 4 as the focus. So if you click into the page and then tab, you can see it actually follow along with with what you're tabbing. So this is a really good help for people doing accessibility tests where they need to check that the tab order is followed or logical. And we do things so you can see a warning for number 2 now because you have a fixed fixed address bar or a fixed header bar, if the tab order goes against the reading direction, so it goes up and to the left, or up and to the right for pages in Hebrew or Arabic, then Polypane flags that, because that's probably a problem, because tab order should follow reading order.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
so like the entirety of Polypane, I try to fill with things like that, where you can deduce something is wrong, but if you can deduce it, then a program can also do it and save you some time.
Yeah.
And maybe make you aware of issues that you hadn't previously thought of.
Yeah. Oh, that is very cool. And here we have the accessibility tree.
Lastly, this is just like the full accessibility tree, as you can also find it in other places. And this is live, so you can see that the email address is focused, so it has a checkbox focused, and all the other stuff that's focusable also has a checkbox focusable. So you can just also see like what's happening in your web page. Yeah, and then you can, by default, we hide all the generic elements. So those are elements that don't have an accessible role, like divs. Divs don't do anything.
Yeah.
And then, but like there are cases where you want to see those, like very specific accessibility auditing cases.
Yeah.
So that exists. So this is like all the different ways that you can see your web page that isn't purely visual. But of course, that's just one aspect of accessibility.
Yeah.
So again, above each tab, there's a set of icons, and the third one from the left, the pencil and ruler, are debug tools. So Polypane has, I think we're at like 50 debug tools and simulators at the moment. And these are all like single focus specific debug tools. So there's a contrast checker that goes through an entire page and checks the contrast. And then if there's a contrast problem, it flags it. You don't have any contrast problems, so good job.
Wait, let me get rid of the focus order. How do I get? Do I have to reload?
No, you can press hide overlay in the outline panel.
Okay. So no contrast issues. Oh, and usually I would have all these turned on all the time?
No, you can only turn on one at a time. So the way you would use these is for like spot checking. And there's some overlap between them. So target size will help you find links that are too small, because Polypane will automatically flag them for you. But all your links are pretty big. Detect small text will find issues where text is below, I think, 12 pixels, or form elements that are below 16 pixels. Because if your form element is below 16 pixels, then a focus on that element will zoom the entire page in on iOS. So if you've ever debugged that issue, you can prevent that by making sure the text in your input elements is large enough.
Yeah. Can I sync these checkers across different panes?
I'm not sure if I built that yet. I think if you hold Shift and then click, they get applied everywhere.
Oh wait, now I disabled it. Yeah. Good job. Yeah. All right. Nice. Okay, that's cool. But these are, I would now kind of go around here and kind of hunt down certain quality issues or issues in the page general.
Yeah. So these are all for specific things. Like show area attributes is something where you can very quickly see, am I assigning the right area attributes, or are there elements being put into my page with weird area by third-party stuff? That's something you want to see.
Yeah. Which ones are the ones you most likely recommend to use?
So I use layout debugging a lot, but I don't use it from this panel. I instead use Command D.
To apply it to all.
Yeah, and then you can just very quickly toggle that on and off. So one of the nice features of layout debugging is that if you have an element that causes horizontal overflow, so horizontal scrolling, that is an accessibility issue, but it's also, it doesn't look good. And it's usually something that appears on Windows and Linux, but not on Mac because they have the nice floaty overlay scroll bars. But if there's something causing an overflow, Polypane flags that, and we show an icon. And if you turn layout debugging on, we detect which elements are responsible for that overflow and highlight them in red.
Nice.
So the entire workflow of where you go into the DevTools and then start deleting things one by one until the scroll bar disappears, you no longer need to do that because Polypane will just go and tell you like, this is the element that causes the issues.
Yeah, that is cool. I mean, it's just a tiny thing. When you need it, it's just like a godsend, right? Otherwise, super nice.
I mean, it's a small feature that can save you like 15 minutes every time it happens. So that
also
it
no
does add
star
up.
border red and stuff, right? It just turn it on. Okay. What else is your favorite in here?
So I like this. If you switch over to the let's do the stacking context 3D view first because that's also one I recently built. So now you can see your website in 3D and you can debug like stacking context issues where things are in front of other things that you don't expect.
Yeah.
And it's just fun to like drag it around in 3D, see the backside of your page, stuff like that.
It's very fancy. I've never actually really used this, but I always enjoy doing it. Edge had that for ages, right? I think Chromium at some point. Or they ported it to Chromium eventually. I think it's very nice.
And so now I have it too. But if you go to simulators,
let me turn that off.
There's a whole bunch of different simulators. So color blindness that you might be familiar with from Chrome, from Playwright. But these use more up-to-date, more realistic algorithms compared to Chrome, compared to other tools, because I actually read the most recent scientific papers on these, and what they say is the most accurate emulation. So, for example, if you go to achromatopsia, full color blindness, this is very different from the regular grayscale that you see everywhere else. The regular grayscale that you see everywhere else I also have as cerebral achromatopsia. And then if you want to know the difference between those, you can hover over the little info icon on the right. And what you can then learn is that, this exists, cerebral achromatopsia, but it doesn't, it happens due to a stroke or brain damage where people lose their ability to see colors. But achromatopsia as an impairment always comes paired with light sensitivity and nearsightedness. So it's not just black and white or grayscale, but it's also not being able to see small details and having colors be washed out compared to the neat understated color scheme that you've chosen. So this, on the one hand, all of these are pretty gimmicky because they are not things that you look at and you go, oh, I need to fix this and this and this for cataracts. But it is really useful to gain understanding in how people use your web page and how people experience your web page. And that will make you, in the end, a better developer and a better designer.
Yeah. And it will lead to better products, right? Just being aware of what is out there, what is possible is the first step to kind of understanding that, well, you need to build for 1,000 different people on different devices with different abilities, with different connections. It's always different. And you cannot assume that one person is like the other on the same devices.
Yeah.
And it's also never it's never 100% accessible too, or 100% perfect, right? Because there's always a condition that is like, yeah, oh no, I didn't know this, that I have to respect these kind of things. It's kind of challenging, but also tiring in the same go, but that's part of the job.
It's part of the job to do a good job for all visitors.
Yeah.
And that means taking stuff like that into account.
100%. All right, Kilian, we have we run out of time with our free Zoom call once already. We're now at the second one that is running out. Do you have one last final quickie that you want to show here in 2 minutes so that we can wrap it up?
So let's do. I can't do just one, but I can do like a couple of quick fire ones.
Go for it.
In the info tab, if you go to the meta panel, then that will show you all the metadata of your web page. So that's page title, favicon, description, robots.txt, web manifest if you have it, structured data if you have it.
Yeah.
And then we use all of that and we give suggestions for improvements there if stuff is missing, or if there's errors, or if the current page is being blocked by the robots.txt, or if your description is too short, or anything you can think of that can be improved. And then we take all that data and we generate social media cards for that, for almost any social media that I can get my hands on. So that's X, Facebook, Slack, Blue Sky, Discord, Twitter, Google.
Nothing to see here yet, but okay.
Nothing to see in this specific case. And then, so you can see that you have missing Twitter tags, and they are split up into required and optional. Optional are nice to have, required are needed to get a preview.
Yeah.
And we do that for everything.
Yeah.
So this is really nice to troubleshoot, like, why does my page look the way it does when I share it on LinkedIn, which is another one that's in there.
Yeah.
So that's the meta panel. Then another thing you probably often do a lot is, if you work with a designer, you make a screenshot of your page and you send that to the designer. Yeah. And maybe you have some external tool for that. But in Polypane, each pane has a little camera icon. And you can click that. And then you have a bunch of different ways to make screenshots. So you can do a screenshot of the viewport of the full page, which we will then stitch together the entire full page.
Yeah.
You can select an element, or you can measure something, or you can even make a quick video recording. And we have a bunch of options there, but let's do viewport. So now we made a screenshot of your viewport. Maybe this screenshot has some sensitive data. So on the left, let's go to redact and redact some stuff.
Oh boy.
And then now at the top, you can quickly copy to clipboard and then paste it into Jira or paste it into Slack. And you just did that in 5 seconds. You didn't have to open any other tool.
Yeah.
And you can just press ESC to go back and carry on with your work.
That is very useful.
Yeah.
You're coming out with a banger here at the at the end. Yeah, totally. When you're in Polypane developing anyways, right? So I'm totally the person. The full page screenshot is always or kind of annotating it. Then you're switching tools to just do two arrows that do this. I think this is very, very useful.
Yeah, it's all built in.
Cool. All right, we have 1 minute, 1 minute 30 left. So I think this was very, very cool. Kilian, I definitely learned a ton of new tricks, and I will definitely focus more on using it more than just using the panels here in 3 different viewports. We stay in touch anyways, but if people want to get in touch with you, kind of talk to you, where can people find you on the internet?
Yeah, so I'm on Blue Sky at kilianvalkov.com, which is also my website where you can find all my other contact details. You can try Polypane at polypane.app, where you can try it for free. And yeah,
cool.
I'm also that's my contact details. Yeah.
That's your contact details. I will put them in the description below. The Zoom will kick out in a second. So thank you very much for joining me here today, Kilian. I wish you a very, very lovely birthday here today. And yeah, we see each other all on the internet. And that's it here for today. Thank you.
Cheers.
Tschüss.
Bye-bye.